What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy. Welcome back to our Bible study. All right, so we've got Exodus 30 lined up. And so we had stuff about the tabernacle and then the priests and like not only what they were supposed to wear, but how they were to be dedicated to the priesthood. And now we've got another, what seems to be kind of a mix of other things related to the tabernacle and some of the ceremonies and procedures that would happen there. So anyway, let's hop right in. Exodus 30. Then make another altar of acacia wood for burning incense. Make it 18 inches square and 36 inches high, with horns and covers carved from the same piece of wood as the altar itself. I think I read the 2 at the start of the verse and almost like transposed that into... Anyway. Overlay the top, sides, and horns of the altar with pure gold, and run a gold molding around the entire altar. Make 2 gold rings and attach them on opposite sides of the altar below the gold molding to hold the carrying poles. Make the poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. Place the incense altar just outside the inner curtain that shields the Ark of the Covenant from in front of the Ark's cover, the place of atonement, that covers the tablets inscribed with the terms of the covenant. I will meet with you there. There being where the altar is going to be placed, or where the Ark of the Covenant's kept, because God has mentioned previously, at least, that it should be basically where the Ark of the Covenant is kept, or at least that that's where his presence would be. So we've had one altar that's made for sacrifices. This one is for burning incense. The one for the sacrifices is, I think, out in like the courtyard area, essentially, of the tabernacle. This seems like it's going to be in the holy place, but not the most holy place. So like it says, just outside of where the Ark of the Covenant is kept. Footnote here is probably just about the dimensions in the original Hebrew, yeah. Footnote here, Ark of the Covenant, or the testimony, same thing there. Replace covenant with testimony. The reason I brush over those is because those have come up multiple times in prior chapters. Alrighty. Moving on, verse 7. Every morning when Aaron maintains the lamps, he must burn fragrant incense on the altar. And each evening when he lights the lamps, he must again burn incense in the Lord's presence. This must be done from generation to generation. Do not offer an unholy incense on this altar, or any burnt offerings, grain offerings, or liquid offerings. Once a year, Aaron must purify the altar by smearing its horns with blood from the offering made to purify the people from their sin. This will be a regular annual event from generation to generation, for this is the Lord's most holy altar. So, I wonder what unholy incense would be. I don't know, it's just a thought that came to my mind, and I'm curious what exactly that would even mean. But anyway, I'm not going to speculate because I don't know. But incense is supposed to be offered just outside the Holy of Holies where the Ark of the Covenant's kept. And I don't know if the assumption here is that, the burning of it in the morning would last until the burning of it in the evening, or if it's just like, there are these particular times when it's supposed to be done. I don't know. Anyway, footnote here. Purify could also be read as make atonement for. But, like, atonement is usually thought of more as, you know, a cleansing of sin, if anything. So, like, it sounds odd, possibly, to say make atonement for the altar. Because, not like the altar is sinful and has done anything wrong. So, I don't know. But I guess it's just, you know, going back to the original Hebrew, that could also be another meaning for it. Anyway, moving on to verse 11. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Whenever you take a census of the people of Israel, each man who is counted must pay a ransom for himself to the Lord. Then no plague will strike the people as you count them. Each person who is counted must give a small piece of silver as a sacred offering to the Lord. This payment is half a shekel, based on the sanctuary shekel, which equals 20 gerahs. All who have reached their 20th birthday must give this sacred offering to the Lord. When this offering is given to the Lord to purify your lives, making you right with him, the rich must not give more than the specified amount, and the poor must not give less. Receive this ransom money from the Israelites, and use it for the care of the tabernacle. It will bring the Israelites to the Lord's attention, and it will purify your lives." So, half a shekel. This is actually, it uses the Hebrew, I guess, because it's just an awkward amount given other, you know, units of weight. Or certainly the American weight is just awkward. 0.2 ounces? Like, nah, just call it what it is. Shekel is the original term anyway, so, but this is them giving the approximation of other weight measurements. So when this offering is given to the Lord to purify your lives, making you, like, it's interesting that the offering is considered purifying, like the monetary offering. I mean, I guess there are other offerings that are considered, you know, purifying or, you know, for their atonement. So I guess in that context, it's not, like, too weird to think about. But still, most of the time, we don't think of monetary offerings as purifying in any way. But I guess it could be, you know, a little bit of showing dedication and gratitude to God, and just other things that show that the people are not so, like, obsessed with their money that they're not willing or able to give this particular offering to God each year. And it's only each year. So, although the value of it, not totally sure. But it's definitely not, like, massive. Anyway, footnote here, to make atonement for your lives rather than making you right. Yeah. And the footnote there just says tent of meeting instead of tabernacle. Okay. So, also noting that, like, it's just a specified amount across the board. It's like, you know, is flat tax the right equivalent term to use? It's one of those things where, like, I don't know if tax is even the right word, but it's, it's like having a price for something that is consistent no matter who you are, as opposed to something like where it's a percentage given, like other things that have been mentioned so far in the Bible. Anyway, alrighty, gonna move on to verse 17 here. Then the Lord said to Moses, make a bronze wash basin with a bronze stand. Place it between the tabernacle and the altar, and fill it with water. Aaron and his sons will wash their hands and feet there. They must wash with water whenever they go into the tabernacle to appear before the Lord, and when they approach the altar to burn up their special gifts to the Lord, or they will die. They must always wash their hands and feet, or they will die. This is a permanent law for Aaron and his descendants, to be observed from generation to generation. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense that they need to wash themselves and, sort of make themselves clean before they're essentially going into God's presence and, doing their priestly duties, sort of representing God and, his forgiveness, his, atonement, his whatever, as they do those priestly things. So it says, but between the tabernacle and the altar, which altar? Because there are two altars. So, is this going... It would make sense to me that this would be out in the courtyard kind of area before getting into the holy place. Because, it's a holy place. Got to clean yourself before you go to a holy place. That just makes sense. So, yeah, anyway. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's what seems to make the most sense in my mind anyway. And with that, we move on to verse 22. Then the Lord said to Moses, collect choice spices, 12.5 pounds of pure myrrh, 6.25 pounds of fragrant cinnamon, 6.25 pounds of fragrant calamus, and 12.5 pounds of cassia, as measured by the weight of the sanctuary shekel. Also get 1 gallon of olive oil. Like a skilled incense maker. Sorry, I've got license stuff on the brain. Recent life events. Anyway. Like a skilled incense maker, blend these ingredients to make a holy anointing oil. Use this sacred oil to anoint the tabernacle, the Ark of the Covenant, the table and all its utensils, the lampstand and all its accessories, the incense altar, the altar of burnt offering and all its utensils, and the wash basin with its stand. Consecrate them to make them absolutely holy. After this, whatever touches them will also become holy. Anoint Aaron and his sons also, consecrating them to serve me as priests. And say to the people of Israel, this holy anointing oil is reserved for me from generation to generation. It must never be used to anoint anyone else, and you must never make any blend like it for yourselves. It is holy, and you must treat it as holy. Anyone who makes a blend like it or anoints someone other than a priest will be cut off from the community. Okay. I mean, it seems like a rather particular blend, so it seems like it would have had to be intentional for somebody to imitate that blend. But also, I wonder why this particular mix of things. Footnotes. So I guess 500 shekels of myrrh, 250 of fragrant cinnamon and calamus, which would also seem to be 500 shekels of cassia, And the gallon of olive oil, Hebrew says 1 hin, which is about 3.8 liters, which, yeah, that's right near a gallon, I think. I mean, I don't recall the exact conversion off the top of my head, but I know a gallon is 3 point something liters. So if that's what a hin is, then yeah, close enough. So that sacred oil was for anointing the tabernacle, the Ark of the Covenant, the table, the lampstand, incense altar, both of the altars. Okay, I don't know why for a second I blanked and I was like, wait, were both the altars included in this? Yes. So basically, the tabernacle and all of its related items were supposed to be anointed with that particular oil. Or, yeah, I guess it was still anointing oil. Even if the spices weren't originally part of the oil, but they're mixed with olive oil. Anyway, I digress. Okay. About time to wrap this up, I suppose. Depending on what's in this last section. Verse 34. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Gather fragrant spices, resin droplets, mollusk's shell, and galbanum, and mix these fragrant spices with pure frankincense, weighted out in equal amounts. Using the usual techniques of the incense maker, blend the spices together and sprinkle them with salt to produce a pure and holy incense. Grind some of the mixture into a very fine powder and put it in front of the Ark of the Covenant, where I will meet with you in the tabernacle. You must treat this incense as most holy. Never use this formula to make this incense for yourselves. It is reserved for the Lord, and you must treat it as holy. Anyone who makes incense like this for personal use will be cut off from the community." Okay, so maybe this is the holy incense that was referred to earlier when talking about the incense for the altar. And then any other type of incense is not holy incense. So this was specifically what was to be used. Anyway. But there's a footnote in here, I thought. Just Ark of the Covenant saying the testimony instead. So both with the anointing oil and the incense, those were particular mixes that God established were only to be used for, holy things. Pretty much just for, the priest's duties and instruments and anything connected with the tabernacle. So, I mean, okay, yeah, sure. Being cut off from the community for making anything like it, I mean, it sounds a bit harsh, but, it's kind of particular, so it's not like you could just sort of stumble upon making something like that. You would have to do it kind of intentionally. So with that in mind, it's kind of in a way specifically direct defiance of God. So in that case, yes, exile from God's people kind of is an apt punishment. But anyway, so I'm starting to wonder if we're about to wrap things up regarding the tabernacle and all of its instruments and what happens in there and what it's made of and all that kind of stuff. But I guess we'll see next time. Okay, so that's going to do it for Exodus 30. Lots of slightly different little aspects of things within the tabernacle, like, the incense, the oils for, well, there was like the anointing oil, there was the incense mixture combination thing, there was a couple of other instruments and things like that in there as well, like the wash basin. Like, again, kind of minor things, but I guess now that we've covered the bigger aspects of the tabernacle, it's kind of, getting down to all the other little details, but they all serve a purpose. So don't think that it's any like less important or anything like that. Anyway, okay, I digress. Enough about that. As always, like and share if you enjoyed the video, subscribe and click the bell to get updates when I post new videos. Look down in the description to get info on my other social media pages and all that kind of stuff. And leave comments down below that with any thoughts you have. Whether it's, this chapter, Bible stuff, other video ideas, whatever you have for me. Let me know down below. So that's it. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you for the next chapter. But until then, stay cool, people.